Watch it now.
Cardinal Sports Live. I'm Brian Fredonia alongside here with Jeff Beatty, and we got a great show for you tonight.
Indeed.
And Jeff, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Doing well. You had a good week so far. Everything going well. That's good. That's good.
Yep, very good.
Did you happen to catch any of the basketball, hockey games this weekend?
No, I didn't get to catch them, but I got a nice little bit of a summary about it, and they did pretty well. So,
They did.
But first, we're going to get into some volleyball.
We are.
And
we are.
we have a highlight for you.
We do have a highlight. We also. The Plattsburgh State women's volleyball team took part in games against Paul Smith's College and Clarkson last Saturday in their matchups at home. After a 10-day layoff, the Cardinals didn't show any rust by dispatching of Paul Smith's College in 3 sets. The win improved the Cards' overall record to 9-15 on the year. Kristen Seheim had 6 kills in the game, while Susan Bodkin and Teresa Lilly had 5 kills as well. And unfortunately, the Cardinals couldn't keep up their momentum going into their matchup against Clarkson. The Cards fell to the Golden Knights in 3 sets, and their record stands at 9-16. And it was senior day at the Clarkson and Cardinals matchup, and unfortunately, the seniors, Susan Bodkin and Kristen Seheim, they were recognized but couldn't come out on top.
Yeah, the Cards volleyball team this year really hasn't fared that well, and they've had a rough season. But we're going to shift gears as we take you about the women's soccer team. And the women's soccer team shuffled up to Buffalo to take on the Bengals of Buffalo State. The Bengals had their way with the Cards, however, despite being outshot 19-7. They beat Plattsburgh 3-0. Buff State struck early when Barb Kilzik scored from 20 yards out, and from there, that's all they needed as they controlled the ball and won the game 3-0. Reese Salia made 7 saves in goal for Plattsburgh, as the loss dropped Plattsburgh to 3-4-2 in the SUNYAC conference play and 8-4-2 overall. And it was really a rough game, Jeff, for the Cardinals right there, as they lost. Buffalo State, as we see, Reese Salia had 3 saves.
19 shots, none of them went in net.
Yeah, and that was the story for Plattsburgh. They outshot them, but none of them went into the goal for some reason, and it was just a tough loss. A game on the road, and pretty much a tough loss. They were A4. They were moved to A4-2. I mean, they struggled in conference play a little bit this year. They started off on the fast start, but really have struggled a little bit in conference play lately.
You're gonna have those games where you take shots on net and they don't go in. I mean, it's the luck of the draw sometimes. And but they did have another shot when they went on and stayed on the road to take on Fredonia. The women's soccer team, like I said, took to the road Saturday against Fredonia. The Cardinals took an early 1-0 lead in the first 5 minutes of the game when Megan Rivage scored off a pass from Helen Giroux. The Cardinals would hold the lead going into the half, but their fortunes quickly turned once the second half kicked off. Fredonia's first goal came when Melissa Comiskey kicked the ball into the net in the upper right-hand corner. 5 minutes later, teammate Riley Condirio scored the game-winning goal on a shot outside of the 18-yard box to give the Blue Devils the 2-1 lead. Goalie Leanne Foley got her second start of the season, recording 7 saves in the game. The loss dropped Plattsburgh overall record to 8-5-2 and 3-4-2 in the SUNYAC Conference. So a tough couple of games on the road there, Brian. I mean, they scored, got on the board early, 1-0. You think early goal, okay, we got the momentum, but I mean, going into the half, 2-1, they outshot Fredonia 8-3.
Yeah,
so.
And they Fredonia is a really good team as you look at their conference record right there, 6-1. So Plattsburgh going on the road, continuing that road trip over the weekend was tough, and a tough game for them. And it was just an overall rough road trip. And they would head into Middlebury, and they would continue their road trip as they took on the 20th ranked Middlebury. The Cardinals played really well as they tied the Panthers 1-1. Middlebury took an early lead when Kristen Lundquist's corner kick found Hannah Newman. Her header hit the crossbar and caromed off right to Rachel Manning, who put the ball in the back of the net to give the Panthers the early 1-0 lead. Plattsburgh then came back when sophomore Danielle Weimer recorded her first goal of the season to tie the score at 1. The game ended in a 1-1 tie. The Cardinals were outshot in the game 32-15, And the tie, however, snaps the Cards' 2-game losing streak and gives the teams confidence as it heads home to take on number 19 Ithaca. And Jeff, a pretty big bounce-back game for the Cardinals here as they played a nationally ranked opponent and actually played really well in the game. They got outshot, and they scored a goal against them in the second half after being down. Especially added a big goal there in the 68th minute.
They can show that they can hang tough with the nationally ranked teams. I mean, they started out the season strong, and they've hit a little bit of a lull, but going back and showing that they can still compete with the nationally ranked teams, and I mean, getting outshot 32-15. But I mean, that was over the course of 2 overtimes.
And they'll wrap their season up when they play Ithaca at home, and then they have one more road game in conference. So,
tough road, tough way to finish off the year on the road. It was the first of 3 home games for Plattsburgh. The men's soccer team welcomed Buffalo State into Plattsburgh on Friday as the two squared off in a SUNY-AC conference game, and in the first half, it was a defensive struggle with no one scoring. It was mainly just tough defense all throughout the first half. Plattsburgh had their chances just like Buffalo State. Nothing could happen. Like I said, Gurtej Dillon had the goal off of McCarron's little cross, a little minor deflection. Plattsburgh out-shooting Buffalo State 8-2. So, Ryan, it had some controversy there at the end. I mean, it was 1-0. That goal was sure, but
and that's a turning point in the game right there. Being down 1-0 to 2-0 in soccer is a huge difference. And
so late in the game too.
And changing the call twice, I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens.
But they moved to 10-2 and 2 overall, and they would take on a Fredonia team the next game as they would play the next day. And Plattsburgh pretty much had a good hold in this game as they would roll to a 3-0 victory. Pat Shaughnessy added a goal, and Tim Cavanaugh for Fredonia had 7 saves. And the Cardinals had 10 shots on goals to 10 shots on goal, and they played really well in this game.
And 2 back-to-back hard-fought games. I mean, Buffalo State game was physical, as you saw. Looked like a little physical chippiness there. But to come out of both of those games
with wins
and to get 2 wins, scoring 5 goals, I mean, blanking both your opponents, that sells something different. But they also
6-1-1 in conference play as they are finishing up their season and should wrap up if they win a couple more games. Have the #1 seed, and that's going to be huge because that determines home field advantage. So they'll be out here at the field house.
Right at the field house where the students come out, the parents come out to support their team, the community comes out. But they also had another game. 3rd game of the homestand, and it was a Tuesday matchup between Union it was an East Region matchup. Plattsburgh got the scoring early when Pat Shaughnessy headed the ball past Union's goalie in the 19th minute. In the 52nd minute, Union tied the game when John Morrow found the loose ball in the box and snuck it by the Plattsburgh goalie. Plattsburgh had a couple chances to get the go-ahead goal, but Joe Griffin and Mike Payne sent shots wide of the net. Union nearly escaped with this victory in the waning seconds, but Jack Scott's shot bounced off the top of the crossbar and went out of bounds with just over a minute on the clock. The draw brings Plattsburgh's unbeaten streak to 28 games versus non-conference opponents at home. And coming out of that game with a 1-1 tie, maybe not the wanted there, Brian, but coming out 1-1 tie against Union in the East Region and still remaining, unbeaten. 28 games versus non-conference opponents at home. Unreal. Never hear those streaks.
And we're going to get to some cross-country now as the men's cross-country team went to their invitational in Albany for the thing. And they ran in the 43rd Albany Invitational, and the Cardinals did very well as they finished 5th overall in the event, while Cardinal standout Mike Heyman won the event, finishing in a time of 24:32, so good job for him. Bobby Grin also placed in the top 15 for Plattsburgh. Grim crossed the finish line in 12th place in a time of 25:25, rounding out the top 5 finishers for the Cardinals. Rounding out the top 5, was Seth Yerman in 35th place with a time of 25:48. Chris Ketchum, 55th with 26:04, and Chris Taylor, 58th with a time of 26:06, and Alex Sicko, 62nd, 26:09, and Matt Burdick, 72nd with a time of 26:18, but he did not earn any points for Plattsburgh, but finishing overall 5th overall with the teams in that division. Pretty good showing there as their standout Heyman won the race, so you got to be very proud of him. And he did an outstanding job for the school and for the cross-country team, and they should be well-deserved. Very good.